Picture this. You heard about this hip new vegan restaurant that just opened downtown. It's your birthday, so you decide you want to go and celebrate with a couple of friends, one of which is in a wheelchair. Your friend's disability shouldn't be a problem, right? Wrong. The new restaurant was designed with a step at the entrance, and they didn't think of this as being inaccessible to disabled people, so they decided to omit the ADA required ramp to save for their curbside aesthetics. One small change to the building's plans could have made this restaurant accessible to your friend. Architects haven't been thinking of disabled people in making their designs, and if this were to change, it could change how we as a society view accommodating those with disabilities. I'm here to inform you from the view of a disabled person how normalizing accessibility in architecture could change how the world views accommodating disabilities. When architects were designing buildings before 1990, it wasn't a law to make the building accessible to those with disabilities, so naturally it wasn't at the front of architects' minds. In July of 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was enacted to prohibit discrimination on the basis of disability in employment, government, public accommodations, transportation, and commercial facilities. Following the enactment of the ADA, makeshift afterthought accommodations were everywhere. Architects were viewing the accommodation through a code-based lens, namely the ADA. This set of codes and regulations hasn't been internalized by design culture even now 30 years later. It is often applied to architecture as sort of an additive layer of specialty features such as clumsy grab rails and shoehorned wheelchair ramps, which by the end of it all ruins the curb appeal, which leads to able people resenting accessibility. Accessibility can be built into the design so as to not create an eyesore. A wheelchair ramp can be built into a staircase. Wider doors to accommodate wheelchair users can be used. Wider walkways to accommodate people passing a wheelchair user. If accessibility were normal, and a person in a wheelchair could go anywhere and there wasn't any fanfare about it, it would change how the world views being disabled. There's a blanket of casual ableism in how the people who are abled view disabilities. Ableism might not be so prominent if a wheelchair user could go anywhere a non-wheelchair user could with little to no issues. Having out-of-the-way ramps that are hard to find, or push to open buttons that don't work, or tied up pull-to-help wires in the bathrooms, make people dread the thought of being disabled with this negative connotation about accessibility. Abled people might not be so afraid of disability if accessibility were the norm. That's how normalizing accommodating disability could change how the world views disabilities.